Good morning, and let me begin with a question that may completely change the way you think about aging. What if the biggest threat to your independence after 75 is not your age itself, but the habits you slowly stop practicing? For decades, many older adults have been told to slow down, be careful, and simply accept physical and mental decline as an unavoidable part of getting older. But the latest research on healthy aging tells a very different story. The people who remain active, mentally sharp, and independent well into their 70s, 80s, and even beyond are not simply lucky. They are often following a set of everyday behaviors that protect their bodies and brains in powerful ways. These habits are not expensive treatments, complicated routines, or miracle solutions. They are simple actions repeated consistently over time. I'm Dr. William, and after more than 20 years of working with adults between the ages of 75 and 85, I have noticed a pattern that modern research is now beginning to confirm. The seniors who continue driving themselves to appointments, caring for their gardens, staying involved with family, and remembering important moments without needing reminders are usually the ones who maintain certain daily habits. A major study conducted by researchers focused on longevity followed more than 4,200 adults between the ages of 70 and 90 over a period of 12 years. The results were remarkable. Participants who consistently maintained four or more specific healthy habits were 61% less likely to experience accelerated functional decline. In simple terms, they were far less likely to lose the ability to live independently, complete everyday activities, and make their own decisions. That difference can determine whether someone continues living life according to their own choices or eventually becomes dependent on others for basic needs. Now, before we get into these habits, I want you to pay close attention to the final one. The number one habit on this list is not something most people expect. It is not a popular supplement, a special diet, or even traditional exercise. Yet researchers from leading institutions have found that it may be one of the strongest predictors of maintaining cognitive and physical independence later in life. So stay with me until the end because that final habit may completely change how you think about protecting your future. Before we begin, I want to ask you something. Leave your age in the comments below. Whether you are 68, 74, 81, or older, tell me which of these habits you already practice and which one you think you need to improve. I read the comments, and this community is built around real experiences from real people. Your story matters, and it may even help someone else watching this video. Now, let's begin with number 6. The first habit may sound simple, almost too simple to have a major impact, but the science behind it is much more powerful than most people realize. Number 6, drinking water strategically, not just occasionally. Many people misunderstand hydration after the age of 75 because they assume their body works the same way it did decades earlier. But aging changes the way your body handles fluids. After around age 70, kidney function naturally becomes less efficient. Your body also becomes worse at sending thirst signals, which means you may not feel thirsty even when you are already lacking the amount of water your body needs. This creates a dangerous situation because dehydration does not always appear as obvious thirst. Sometimes it shows up as fatigue, dizziness, confusion, poor concentration, or difficulty maintaining balance. Think of your bloodstream like a transportation system. Your blood carries oxygen and nutrients throughout your body, delivering what your muscles, organs, and brain need to function properly. But when your body does not have enough fluid, that transportation system becomes less efficient. The result is that your entire body begins working harder than it should. Research involving thousands of adults over age 70 has shown that maintaining proper daily hydration is connected with better physical performance, fewer urinary problems, improved balance, and stronger memory performance. Your brain itself is made up largely of water, and even mild dehydration can affect concentration and mental clarity. This effect becomes even more important as we age because the brain already has to work harder to maintain normal function. The healthiest older adults understand that hydration should not be something they think about only when they feel thirsty. They create a routine. Many begin their day by drinking a glass of water before coffee, breakfast, or any other activity. This matters because your body loses fluid overnight through breathing and natural sweating. By morning, you are already starting the day slightly behind. A simple morning glass of water helps restore that balance. Many also drink smaller amounts throughout the day rather than waiting until they feel thirsty. A glass with meals and another in the afternoon can help maintain steady hydration without overwhelming the body. Some older adults also pay attention to electrolytes because the body's ability to maintain mineral balance changes with age. For certain individuals, adding electrolytes or discussing hydration strategies with a healthcare professional may be useful. I remember a patient named Margaret, an 81-year-old woman from Boise, Idaho, who came to me experiencing afternoon mental fog dizziness when standing, and a strange feeling she described as though her thoughts were covered by a layer of cotton. She was not severely dehydrated. That was the important part. She was experiencing something much more common, ongoing mild dehydration. We made made one simple adjustment. She changed when she drank water and added a better hydration routine in the morning. Several weeks later, she told me it felt as if someone had cleaned the windows of her mind. Her balance improved, her afternoon tiredness decreased, and she felt more alert throughout the day. One small habit created a noticeable difference. And that brings us to the next habit, because staying hydrated is only one piece of the puzzle. The next behavior focuses on something many people believe is impossible to rebuild after 75: strength. Number 5, resistance-based movement at least twice a week. Now, I want to clarify something important. When I say resistance movement, I am not talking about heavy weightlifting or spending hours in a gym. I'm talking about any activity that challenges your muscles to work against resistance. It could be using resistance bands, lifting light weights, doing wall push-ups, performing bodyweight exercises, or even carrying groceries with purpose. The goal is not to become a professional athlete. The goal is to remind your muscles that they are still needed. As we age, our muscles experience a process called anabolic resistance. This means older muscles do not respond to exercise and protein as efficiently as younger muscles do. In practical terms, your body needs a stronger signal to maintain the same level of muscle strength. Your muscles are not failing because they are weak or lazy. They simply need more intentional stimulation. When that stimulation disappears, a condition called sarcopenia can develop. Sarcopenia is the gradual loss of muscle mass and strength that affects balance, mobility, and independence. And once muscle strength declines significantly, everyday tasks become harder. Walking safely, climbing stairs, carrying bags, and getting up from a chair can all become more challenging. That is why resistance movement is not only about building muscle, it is about protecting your ability to live independently. The key is consistency. You do not need extreme workouts or exhausting routines. What matters is giving your muscles a regular reminder that they are still important. Research following older adults who began resistance training showed that even people in their late 70s and 80s could experience meaningful improvements. After only a short period of consistent training, participants improved their leg strength, balance, and overall physical performance. One of the most surprising findings was that resistance exercise does not only affect muscles, it also influences the body's energy systems. Inside your muscle cells are structures called mitochondria. Think of them as tiny power stations that produce the energy your body uses every day. As we age, mitochondrial efficiency naturally declines, but resistance exercise can help improve how these power stations function. So when you strengthen your muscles, you're not simply making your arms and legs stronger. You are supporting the systems that help your entire body produce energy, manage blood sugar, and fight inflammation. The practical approach is simple. Aim for 2 or 3 resistance sessions each week, lasting around 20 to 30 minutes. Focus on the major muscle groups that have the biggest impact on independence: your legs, hips, and back. Resistance bands are especially useful for many older adults because they provide a challenge without putting unnecessary stress on the joints. Another important detail is timing. After exercise, your muscles become more prepared to use protein for repair and rebuilding. This is why combining resistance movement with adequate protein intake can create a stronger effect than doing either one alone. After a workout, consuming a protein-rich meal or snack can help your muscles recover more effectively. Small habits like these create a foundation for staying strong. Now we move to number 4, and this is a habit that many people underestimate. Number 4, maintaining a consistent and purposeful sleep schedule. Before we continue, if this information is helping you understand your health in a new way, consider subscribing to the channel. The goal here is to share science-based information that many older adults never have enough time to discuss during regular medical appointments. And if you know someone between the ages of 70 and 90 who could benefit from learning these habits, sharing this video with them could be a simple way to help. Now let's talk about sleep. Many people think poor sleep is simply a normal part of getting older. They assume that waking up several times during the night or feeling tired during the day is something they just have to accept. But sleep is not a luxury. It is one of the body's most important repair processes. After the age of 75, changes occur in your internal clock, also known as your circadian rhythm. This system controls when you feel awake, when you feel tired, and how your body prepares itself for rest. As we age, the signals that regulate sleep become weaker. The brain produces significantly less melatonin than it did when we were younger, and the deepest stage of sleep becomes shorter. This deep sleep phase is especially important because it is when the body performs many restoration processes. It supports immune function, cellular repair, memory organization, and muscle recovery. But here is what many people do not realize. Poor sleep after 75 is not just about feeling tired the next day. Long-term sleep disruption can affect the brain itself. Research has connected poor sleep patterns in older adults with increased buildup of harmful proteins associated with cognitive decline. This does not mean one bad night of sleep causes problems, but years of inconsistent sleep can place additional stress on the brain. The healthiest older adults do something different. They do not simply try to sleep longer. They create consistency. They go to bed around the same time every night. They wake up around the same time every morning. They follow a rhythm that gives their body predictable signals. Even on weekends, they maintain a similar schedule because the body does not understand weekends or holidays. It responds to patterns. Another important factor is the sleeping environment. Many older adults benefit from keeping their bedroom cool because body temperature regulation becomes less efficient with age. A cooler room can help the body enter and maintain deeper stages of sleep. Reducing screen exposure before bedtime can also make a difference. The issue is not only the light coming from devices, it is also the mental stimulation. Watching intense programs, scrolling through endless information, or engaging in stimulating conversations right before bed can keep the brain active when it should be preparing for rest. A simple evening routine can help signal to your body that the day is ending. One effective practice is slow breathing before bed. Taking a few minutes to breathe deeply and slowly can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for calming the body and shifting it into a recovery state. This can reduce stress levels and make it easier to achieve deeper sleep. Sleep is not something you lose control over simply because you get older. It is something you can influence through consistent habits. And now we reach number 3, one of the most misunderstood areas of aging: nutrition. Number 3, eating enough protein and spreading it throughout the day. This is where I see one of the biggest mistakes among older adults. For years, many people have believed that they need less protein as they age because they are less active. But research suggests the opposite. As we get older, our bodies often need more attention to maintain muscle because of anabolic resistance. The same amount of protein that helped build and maintain muscle at age 40 may not have the same effect after 75. Your body becomes less efficient at using protein, meaning you need a more intentional approach. Unfortunately, many seniors consume far less protein than they need. This often happens because appetite decreases, cooking becomes more difficult, or convenient foods that are easier to prepare contain mostly carbohydrates. But protein is one of the most important tools your body has for repair. Think of protein as the building material your body uses every day. Every night while you sleep, your body is repairing damaged tissue, rebuilding muscle fibers, and maintaining important structures. Without enough protein, that rebuilding process becomes incomplete. Over time, the result can be gradual muscle loss, reduced strength, and lower physical independence. Studies involving adults between 70 and 85 have found that those who consume adequate protein spread throughout the day tend to maintain more muscle, recover better from illness, and have stronger overall function. The important word here is not just protein, it is distribution. Eating a large amount of protein once a day is not the same as providing your body with steady building materials throughout the day. A better approach is including protein at each major meal. For many older adults, this may mean aiming for around 25 to 35 grams of protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, depending on individual health needs and guidance from a healthcare professional. Foods such as fish, eggs, chicken, Greek yogurt, lean meats, beans, and other protein-rich foods can all play a role. The goal is not perfection. The goal is consistency, because the habits that protect your independence are rarely complicated. They are simple actions repeated often enough that your body begins to benefit. And the next habit reveals something many people never expect. One of the strongest predictors of healthy aging has nothing to do with food, exercise, or sleep. It has to do with something deeply human: connection. Protein is not just about maintaining muscle size. It is about preserving the ability to move, recover, and remain independent. I remember a patient named James, a 78-year-old man from Scottsdale, Arizona, who came to see me after his daughter noticed something concerning. He had lost nearly 18 pounds, and his previous doctor had described it as a normal part of aging. But weight loss in older adults is not always harmless. In James's case, he was not simply losing weight, he was losing muscle. His grip strength, which is one of the strongest physical indicators we have for predicting future health and independence, had dropped significantly. He was struggling with tasks that had once been effortless. We changed the way he approached his meals. Instead of eating randomly throughout the day, he began focusing on intentional protein intake at each meal. After about 12 weeks, the difference was clear. He regained a significant amount of lean muscle, his strength improved, and his confidence returned. One of the moments that meant the most to him was when he told me he had carried all of his own grocery bags from the car for the first time in 2 years. That may sound like a small achievement, but for many older adults, these everyday abilities are what independence is built on. The small things matter: the ability to carry groceries, climb stairs, open a jar, walk through the neighborhood, or complete daily tasks without assistance represents freedom. Another helpful strategy is combining protein intake with foods rich in vitamin C, such as citrus fruits, peppers, or other fresh produce. Vitamin C supports collagen production, which works alongside protein to maintain connective tissue, joints, and the structures that help hold the body together. The lesson is simple. After 75, nutrition is not just about eating enough calories. It is about giving your body the specific materials it needs to continue rebuilding itself. Now we arrive at number 2, and this is where many people are surprised because it does not sound like a traditional medical recommendation. Number 2, daily intentional social connection. At first, some people hear this and think, how can talking with others be considered a health habit? But modern research on aging has made one thing very clear: meaningful social connection is not just emotional support, it is a biological necessity. For years, loneliness was viewed mainly as a personal or emotional issue. Today, researchers understand that long term social isolation can affect the body in measurable ways. Large studies involving hundreds of thousands of adults have found that chronic social isolation is associated with a significantly higher risk of early death. The impact is comparable to some well known health risks. That is how powerful connection can be. For adults over 75, loneliness has been linked to faster cognitive decline, increased dementia risk, and higher levels of inflammation in the body. But why does social connection have such a powerful effect? Because the human brain is designed for interaction. When you have a meaningful conversation, share a laugh, tell a story, listen carefully, or discuss ideas with another person, your brain is actively working. Different regions involved in memory, decision making, language, and emotional processing are being exercised. Think about your social brain like a muscle. The activities that challenge it help maintain its strength. A person who regularly engages with others is constantly giving their brain opportunities to create and strengthen connections. But when someone becomes isolated for long periods, those opportunities decrease. The brain naturally becomes less stimulated and unused pathways become weaker. This is especially important after 75 because the brain's ability to adapt, known as neuroplasticity, becomes slower with age. The brain can still change, it can still grow, but it needs the right kind of stimulation, and meaningful relationships provide exactly that. Now, there is an important distinction here. Simply being around people is not enough. Sitting in a room while a television plays in the background does not provide the same benefit. The brain needs active engagement, a real conversation, a shared activity, a moment where you respond, think, laugh, remember, and participate. That is what keeps the brain involved. The prescription is simple. Aim for at least one meaningful social interaction every day. It does not have to be complicated. It could be meeting a friend for coffee, joining a community group, attending a place of worship, walking with a neighbor, volunteering, or calling a family member and having a genuine conversation. The important part is that you are engaged, you are participating, you are connecting. I saw this clearly with a patient named Dorothy, an 83-year-old woman from Charleston, South Carolina. Dorothy had spent more than 5 decades with her husband. After losing him, her world became much smaller. She slowly withdrew from friends, activities, and social events. Within months, her daughter noticed significant changes. Dorothy was less energetic, less engaged, and her memory seemed worse. When she came to see me, her cognitive assessments showed measurable decline. But instead of immediately changing medications, we focused on rebuilding her daily life. We created a structured social schedule. She joined a weekly book club. She started having a daily 20-minute phone conversation with different friends and family members. She volunteered twice a week at her local library. The goal was not simply to keep her busy. The goal was to reconnect her brain with meaningful human interaction. Several months later, the changes were remarkable. Her cognitive scores improved, her inflammation levels decreased, and according to her daughter, she felt like herself again. That is why social connection should never be viewed as optional after 75. It is part of protecting your health. And there is an even greater benefit when you combine connection with movement. A walk with a friend, a group exercise class, gardening with a neighbor, or any activity that combines physical movement and conversation can create an even stronger effect. These combined experiences increase levels of important brain supporting chemicals, including brain derived neurotrophic factor, often called BDNF. BDNF helps support brain cells, encourages healthy connections, and plays a role in learning and memory. So when you move with others, you are helping both your body and your brain at the same time. Now, we have reached the final habit, and this is the one that surprises almost everyone. It is the habit that fewer older adults consistently practice, yet researchers consider one of the most powerful tools available for protecting the aging brain. Number 1, daily purposeful cognitive challenge. This is not simply watching educational videos, doing easy puzzles, or reading familiar material. Those activities can be enjoyable and useful, but the habit we are talking about goes deeper. It is about challenging your brain with something genuinely new: a new language, a musical instrument, a creative skill, a new area of knowledge, something that forces your brain to struggle, adapt, and create new connections. Because the brain, just like the muscles in your body, responds to challenge. The brain, just like the muscles in your body, responds to challenge. When you stop challenging your brain, it becomes more comfortable with familiar routines. It becomes better at doing the things it already knows, but it becomes less prepared to adapt when faced with something new. This is not because the brain becomes weak or incapable. It is actually a natural survival process. As we age, the brain becomes more efficient. It prefers familiar patterns because they require less energy. Doing something you already know how to do is easier than creating new pathways. pathways. But there is a downside. That same efficiency can reduce the amount of mental stimulation your brain receives. Over time, fewer new experiences can mean fewer opportunities for the brain to maintain what scientists call cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve is one of the most important concepts in healthy aging. Think of it like a backup system inside your brain. A person with greater cognitive reserve has more flexibility and resilience. Their brain can handle age related changes more effectively because it has developed more pathways and stronger connections. Imagine two computers. One has very little memory and struggles when multiple programs are running. The other has much more capacity and can continue operating smoothly even under pressure. Your brain works in a similar way. The more cognitive reserve you build, the more protection you create against the natural changes that happen with aging. And the best way to strengthen that reserve is not by keeping your brain comfortable, it is by challenging it. Research following older adults has shown that people who regularly participate in new and demanding mental activities often maintain better memory, stronger processing speed, and healthier brain function compared with those who rarely challenge themselves. The key word is new. Doing the same crossword puzzle every day or repeating the same activities may provide some stimulation, but learning something unfamiliar requires your brain to work differently. That effort is where the benefit comes from. Learning a new language is a perfect example. When you study a language, your brain has to manage vocabulary, pronunciation, memory, listening skills, and communication patterns all at once. Multiple areas of the brain become active together. Studies have shown that bilingualism and language learning are associated with stronger cognitive function and may delay the appearance of dementia symptoms in some individuals. Another powerful example is learning a musical instrument. Playing an instrument requires coordination between movement, hearing, memory, timing, and emotional expression. Your hands have to perform new movements, your brain has to remember patterns, your ears have to recognize changes in sound. It is a full body workout for your brain, but you do not need to become a professional musician or master a complicated skill to benefit. Even learning a new cooking style, trying a new creative hobby, studying history, practicing photography, or learning how to use new technology can provide meaningful mental stimulation. The important thing is that you are actively involved. Watching someone else do something is not the same as learning it yourself. Watching a person play guitar online is not learning guitar. Holding the instrument, struggling through the first chords, making mistakes, adjusting, and trying again is where the brain begins to change. That struggle is not a sign that you are failing. It is the signal that your brain is working. The challenge itself is the exercise. The practical approach is simple. Choose one new skill every few months. Spend 20 to 30 minutes each day practicing it. The activity should be difficult enough that you have to concentrate, but realistic enough that you can continue consistently. Remember, the goal is not perfection. The goal is stimulation. You are sending a message to your brain that growth is still required. I saw this with a patient named Robert, a 79-year-old retired civil engineer from Portland, Oregon. Robert had spent 40 years in a career that required intense problem solving and analytical thinking. But after retirement, he gradually stopped doing activities that truly challenged his mind. For several years, his daily routine became comfortable and predictable. Eventually, he noticed changes. He found it harder to remember names. Complex conversations required more effort. He felt that his mind was not working as quickly as it once had. When he came in for evaluation, his brain scans showed changes that were normal for his age. There was nothing alarming, but his cognitive reserve was lower than ideal. Instead of focusing only on what he had lost, we focused on what he could still build. I encouraged him to choose something he had always wanted to learn, something completely outside his comfort zone. Robert chose oil painting. He had never painted before, and he was the first person to admit that he was not very good in the beginning. But that was exactly the point. Every painting forced his brain to learn new patterns. He had to understand colors, shapes, techniques, and creative decisions. Over the next 18 months, Robert completed 23 paintings. He also joined a local art group, which gave him the added benefit of social connection. And when he returned for follow-up cognitive testing, something remarkable happened. He did not simply maintain his abilities, he improved in several measured areas. At 79 years old, his brain showed signs of growth and adaptation. That is an important message. Aging does not mean your ability to learn disappears. Your brain remains capable of change throughout life, but it needs a reason. It needs stimulation. It needs challenge. And when you combine cognitive training with other healthy habits, the effects can become even stronger. One useful combination is pairing mental learning with proper nutrition, especially nutrients that support brain health. Omega-3 fatty acids, particularly DHA, found in foods like salmon, sardines, and other fatty fish, play an important role in maintaining healthy brain cell membranes. Research suggests that people with higher levels of DHA may respond better to cognitive training because the brain has the structural support needed to adapt. Think of it this way: learning is the seed. A healthy brain environment is the soil that allows that seed to grow. When you provide both, you give your brain the best possible opportunity to continue developing. Now, let's bring everything together. The 6 habits we discussed today are not about trying to reverse time. They are not about pretending aging does not happen. Aging is a natural process. The goal is not to fight it. The goal is to age in a way that protects your independence, your confidence, and your quality of life. Strategic hydration supports your body's basic functions. Resistance movement protects strength and mobility. Consistent sleep allows your body and brain to repair. Deliberate protein intake provides the materials needed for rebuilding. Daily social connection protects emotional health and brain function. Purposeful cognitive challenge keeps your mind adaptable. Together, these habits create a powerful foundation for healthy aging. And the most important thing to remember is that you do not need to change everything overnight. Many people make the mistake of believing that improving health requires a complete transformation. But lasting change usually begins with one small decision: one glass of water in the morning, one short walk, one conversation with someone you care about, one new skill practiced for a few minutes each day. Small actions repeated consistently can create meaningful results over time. I have seen patients in their 70s and 80s make changes they thought were impossible. People who believed their best years were behind them discovered that there was still room for improvement because the human body and brain are far more adaptable than many people realized. All right, part 4 continues in part 5. Part 5: the human body and brain are far more adaptable than many people realize. For years, many older adults have been given a message that aging is simply a process of decline. They are told that certain abilities disappear, that weakness is unavoidable, and that there is little they can do once they reach a certain age. But the science tells a more encouraging story. Aging does bring changes. No one can completely stop the passage of time. Muscles naturally change, recovery may become slower, and the body requires more attention than it did decades earlier. But aging does not mean giving up control. The choices you make every day continue to influence how your body functions, how your mind performs, and how independent you remain. That is the biggest lesson behind these 6 habits. They are not about chasing youth. They are not about trying to become someone you were 30 years ago. They are about protecting the person you are today. The goal is waking up and still having the ability to do the things that matter to you. Driving yourself where you need to go, walking through your neighborhood, preparing your own meals, spending time with family, picking up the phone and calling someone you care about, continuing hobbies that bring you happiness. Those moments are not small. They represent freedom, they represent independence, and they are worth protecting. One of the biggest misunderstandings about aging is the belief that health is determined only by genetics. Genetics matter, but they are not the entire story. Your daily behaviors influence how your genes are expressed, how your body responds to stress, and how well your systems function over time. The choices you make repeatedly become signals that your body responds to. When you move your muscles, your body receives the message that strength is still needed. When you challenge your brain, your mind receives the message that learning is still important. When you connect with others, your nervous system receives the message that you are part of a community. When you sleep consistently and provide your body with proper nutrition, you give your cells the resources they need to repair and maintain themselves. These signals add up, and over years, they can create a very different aging experience. This is why the habits of healthy older adults are so important. They are not usually doing one extraordinary thing. They are doing ordinary things consistently. They drink enough water, they keep moving, they protect their sleep, they eat enough protein, they maintain relationships, they continue learning. The power is not found in one individual habit alone. The real benefit comes from the combination. Each habit supports the others. For example, resistance training helps maintain muscle, but muscle needs protein to rebuild. Protein helps repair the body, but quality sleep is when much of that repair happens. Sleep supports brain function, but social connection and cognitive challenges keep the brain active. Movement improves physical health, but when movement happens with another person, it also strengthens social and emotional health. Everything is connected. Your body is not a collection of separate parts working independently. It is one integrated system, and when you support one area, you often create benefits in many others. This is why it is never too late to begin. I have seen people in their 70s make changes after years of inactivity. I have seen people in their 80s regain confidence after believing they were losing their independence. The first step is often the hardest because many people wait for the perfect moment. They think they need more energy before exercising. They think they need better motivation before changing their diet. They think they need more time before focusing on themselves. But the truth is, action often creates motivation. You do not always need to feel ready before beginning. Sometimes the small action comes first and the confidence follows. A 5-minute walk can become a daily routine. A single conversation can become a stronger social connection. A few minutes of learning can become a new lifelong interest. The important thing is to start. start. Now, I want to return to the habit that many experts believe may have the greatest impact on long term independence: purposeful cognitive challenge. Because this habit represents something deeper than simply protecting memory, it represents maintaining curiosity. And curiosity is one of the strongest signs of an active, engaged life. Think about the people you know who seem to age well. Many of them share something in common. They remain interested, they ask questions, they try new things, they continue exploring the world around them. They may be learning technology, they may be reading about a new subject, they may be joining a class, they may be discovering a hobby they never had time for earlier in life. The specific activity does not matter as much as the mindset. The mindset is what keeps the brain active. A curious person continues creating experiences, and experiences create memories. They create connections. They create purpose. Purpose is another important part of healthy aging. Many people struggle after retirement because their daily structure disappears. For decades, work provided schedules, responsibilities, challenges, and social interaction. When that suddenly ends, some people lose a sense of direction. But retirement does not have to mean the end of purpose. Purpose can come from many places: helping others, teaching your grandchildren, volunteering, creating something, learning something new, taking care of a garden, supporting your community. Purpose gives your days meaning, and meaningful days encourage healthy behaviors. A person who feels that life still has something to offer is more likely to take care of themselves. They are more likely to move. They are more likely to stay connected. They are more likely to continue growing. This is why healthy aging is not just about preventing disease. It is about creating a life you still want to participate in. Medicine has become very good at extending lifespan, but the next challenge is extending health span. The difference is important. Lifespan is simply the number of years you live. Health span is the number of years you live with strength, independence, and quality of life. The goal is not just adding years to life. The goal is adding life to those years. And the habits we discussed today are some of the strongest tools we have to support that goal. There's no single moment when aging happens. It happens through thousands of small decisions: the meals you choose, the activities you do, the people you spend time with, the challenges you accept, the routines you create. Each choice is a vote for the type of future you want. And the encouraging news is that you can start making those choices today, no matter your current age, no matter where you are beginning. There is always an opportunity to improve. There is always an opportunity to improve. Many people believe that once they reach their 70s or 80s, the important decisions about their health have already been made. They think the habits they built decades ago have determined everything that comes next, but that is not how the human body works. The body is constantly responding to the environment you create for it. Your muscles respond to movement. Your brain responds to learning. Your immune system responds to nutrition, sleep, and stress. Your emotional health responds to your relationships and sense of purpose. Every day gives you another chance to send your body a different message. The message can be simple: I still need strength. I still need my brain to adapt. I still need connection. I still have reasons to take care of myself. That mindset is powerful because healthy aging begins with the belief that improvement is still possible. I want to emphasize something important. These habits are not meant to replace medical care or ignore individual health conditions. Everyone has different needs, medical histories, and limitations. The best approach is to work with your healthcare provider and create a plan that fits your situation. But within that plan, there is often more room for improvement than people realize. Small actions matter. A person who begins drinking enough water each morning is making a positive change. Someone who starts using resistance bands twice a week is giving their muscles a reason to stay strong. Someone who commits to a regular bedtime is supporting their brain and body. Someone who adds protein to each meal is providing the materials needed for repair. Someone who reaches out to a friend or joins a group is protecting their emotional and cognitive health. Someone who learns something new is reminding their brain that growth is still part of life. These actions may appear simple, but simplicity is often what makes them sustainable. The most effective habits are not the ones that require the most effort for a few days. They are the ones you can continue for months and years. Consistency beats intensity. A perfect routine that lasts 1 week is not as powerful as a simple routine practiced for years. That is how lasting change happens. Now let's bring everything together one final time. The 6 habits that support independence and healthy aging are strategic hydration, regular resistance-based movement, consistent restorative sleep, intentional protein intake, daily social engagement, purposeful cognitive challenge. Each one protects a different part of your health. Hydration supports your body's basic systems and helps your brain function properly. Strength training protects mobility, balance, and independence. Sleep allows your body and mind to repair. Protein helps maintain the muscle and structure needed for daily life. Social connection keeps your brain active and your emotional health strong. Learning keeps your mind adaptable and builds cognitive reserve. Together, they create a foundation for aging with strength and confidence. But remember, the goal is not perfection. You do not need to wake up tomorrow and completely redesign your life. Choose one habit, start there. Once that becomes part of your routine, build another. Over time, those small improvements can create a completely different future. I have watched people transform their lives by making changes they once believed were too difficult. I have seen individuals who felt weaker regain confidence. I have seen people who felt isolated rebuild meaningful connections. I have seen older adults discover new interests and abilities they never knew they still had. The common factor was not age. It was willingness. They believed there was still something worth improving. And there was, because your later years are not simply the final chapter of your story. They can be a chapter filled with growth, purpose, connection, and experiences you may not have expected. Age does not remove your ability to learn. It does not remove your ability to strengthen your body. It does not remove your ability to create meaningful relationships. And it does not remove your ability to improve your quality of life. The research continues to show us something incredibly important. Aging is not just something that happens to you. It is also something you can influence. The choices you make today can affect how you feel tomorrow, and the choices you repeat tomorrow can shape the years ahead. So I want to leave you with this thought. Do not measure your future by what you cannot do anymore. Measure it by what you can still build. You can still become stronger, you can still learn, you can still connect, you can still create new memories, you can still improve. The purpose of healthy aging is not to chase the past, it is to protect the present and make the most of the future. Because independence is not about avoiding every challenge that comes with age. It is about giving yourself the best possible chance to meet those challenges with strength. It is about being able to carry your own groceries. Remember the names of the people you love. Enjoy conversations around the dinner table. Continue exploring the world around you. Wake up with a reason to begin the day. That is what quality of life truly means. And I have seen it happen in people who believed they had already passed their opportunity to change. They had not. Neither have you. If this information gave you something valuable today, consider subscribing to the channel. Every week, we share research-based information designed to help older adults make informed decisions about their health and well-being. And I want to hear from you. Tell me your age in the comments and share which of these 6 habits you feel strongest in right now. Which one are you already doing well, and which one do you want to improve? Your experience may encourage someone else who is watching. This community exists because of conversations like these. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself. Remember, taking care of your health is not about adding more pressure to your life. It is about protecting the life you already have. Take care of yourself because you are worth the effort.